3 days after the plane crash that killed my husband, I stood in a cemetery, surrounded by grieving faces, when my own sister walked up, holding a baby in her arms, and told everyone he was the father. Then she smirked and pulled out a second will, one that left everything, my home, my savings, even his memories, to her. I wanted to scream, to collapse, to disappear. But instead, I waited, and what I discovered next about my family's betrayal shattered me and set me on a path of revenge they never saw coming. If you've ever felt powerless against someone you trusted, or tasted the bitterness of betrayal, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and buckle up, because this is a story where justice isn't just served, it's beautifully, perfectly calculated. Let's dive in. I remember that morning vividly. The sky was a dull gray, the kind of gray that presses down on your chest and makes breathing feel heavier. My husband Alex had been on a flight I couldn't save him from, and now, standing in the cemetery, clutching his favorite scarf in my hands, I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out the center of me and left me with an empty shell. I thought grief was the worst part. I was wrong. The real devastation came when my sister, Vanessa, stepped forward. She smiled, that sickly sweet smile she always reserved for moments when she knew she had the upper hand. In her arms was a baby barely 6 months old, and she claimed Alex was the father. The first wave of shock froze me. My heart felt like it had stopped. My body betrayed me, trembling uncontrollably as 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. How? Why? Could this be true? Then came the final blow. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thick envelope. "I think Alex would have wanted this to be known," she said, her voice dripping with Fox sympathy. It was a second will, a will that left everything to her. My house, his savings, his business, his personal belongings gone. In one calculated move, Vanessa had tried to erase me from his life and legacy. I wanted to collapse, but somehow I forced myself to stay upright. I couldn't let her see the panic, the helplessness, the fury boiling inside me. I spent the next week in a haze. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smirk. I replayed the scene in my mind, over and over, questioning how I'd been blind to her jealousy and cunning all these years. I remembered all the subtle digs, the undermining comments, the times she'd tried to isolate me from Alex, and a fire ignited in me a need for justice that was more consuming than grief itself. I started digging. I contacted Alex's lawyer, who seemed just as shocked as I was about the second will. It turned out that Vanessa had somehow convinced him to notarize it without informing me. But that wasn't the only thing she'd hidden. Through Alex's personal documents, bank statements, and private emails, I began to uncover the full extent of her betrayal. Vanessa had been siphoning money from his accounts for months. She had falsified documents, manipulated his friends, and even tried to sabotage my relationships within his business. Every move she made was methodical, calculated, designed to isolate me and position herself as the rightful heir. But here's the thing about underestimating someone. You never know when they've been planning their comeback. I knew confronting her head-on would be dangerous. Vanessa thrived on drama and knew how to twist every confrontation to make herself the victim. I needed precision, evidence, and timing. I started by quietly collecting proof. I recorded conversations where she admitted to manipulating my late husband's finances. I documented her interactions with banks and notarized statements that contradicted the fraudulent will. I even found digital evidence of emails she sent to Alex, lying about me, about our marriage, about his business. Everything she thought was hidden wasn't. Then I waited for the right moment. It came 2 weeks later, during what was supposed to be the reading of her inherited wealth. She arrived at my family home, smug and confident, wearing that same smirk that had haunted me. She thought she was untouchable. I asked everyone to sit. The atmosphere was tense, thick with curiosity. I took a deep breath, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make her uneasy. Then I began to speak. I started with facts, cold and unyielding. I presented the evidence I'd meticulously gathered. Bank statements, notarized emails, fraudulent documents. Every lie she had constructed crumbled beneath the weight of proof. Her smirk faltered. First it wavered, then it disappeared entirely. I watched as the mask of control she wore so comfortably slipped away, revealing panic and desperation. "You thought I wouldn't notice," I said softly, letting my words cut through the room like a knife. "You thought grief would make me blind. But you underestimated me. You thought I'd crumble and let you take everything. But this is justice." I could see the disbelief on her face as I handed the evidence to Alex's lawyer. He reviewed everything, his expression unreadable at first, then slowly transforming into understanding and respect. By the end of the day, the second will was declared null and void. All of Alex's assets, everything he had worked for, were returned to me. Vanessa had no claim, no leverage, no defense. I didn't gloat. I didn't rub it in. But I felt something I hadn't felt since the plane crash peace. Not the peace of forgetting, not the peace of erasing the pain, but the peace of knowing that justice had been served. The best part? Vanessa's betrayal, her manipulation, her arrogance, all of it was now known to the people who mattered. Friends, family, even business associates saw her for what she truly was. She had overplayed her hand, and in doing so, had exposed herself completely. That night, I sat alone in my home, holding Alex's favorite scarf. The weight of grief hadn't vanished, and it never will. But it had transformed. From paralyzing despair, it became a driving force, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, clarity and patience could turn the tables. I reflected on what had happened. Betrayal can come from anywhere, even family. But revenge, when crafted carefully, proportionately, and with moral clarity, can restore not just justice, but dignity. Life has a way of testing your resilience, your faith, and your patience. The betrayal I endured was devastating, but it also reminded me that strength isn't just in surviving, it's in reclaiming what's rightfully yours, quietly and deliberately, until the truth speaks for itself. If you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or faced someone who thought they could take everything from you, comment below and share your story. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because stories of justice, revenge, and triumph like this are meant to inspire and remind us that truth always finds a way.